welcome to our next video for The Many Faces of Alice. I'm Dave.
And I am Rob.
And this week on The Many Faces of Alice, we're going to be reviewing the 1933 Hollywood version.
This all-star version of Alice in Wonderland came out in December, just in time for a Christmas release by Paramount Pictures. And the reason why Paramount wanted to do an all-star Alice was because the studio was near bankruptcy at the time, and they thought bringing in a film with a lot of big-name stars at the time, like Cary Grant, W.C. Fields, and Gary Cooper, and as well as some popular character actors that popped up in a lot of films at this time, would draw people to the theater, although ironically it flopped big time at the box office. And the weird thing is, the films that ended up saving Paramount that year were the two Mae West films, She Done 'Em Wrong and I'm No Angel. This movie is 77 minutes long. It kind of crams both Alice books into one film, Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, so it moves at a rather brisk pace. And I think this movie was put together more to show off the cast rather than faithfully tell Lewis Carroll's stories, because the scenes are very quick. Some might be 2 to 3 minutes long. Instead of opening with Alice in Wonderland where it's in the summer, it opens where it's snowing outside during winter, probably to time with the Christmas release. They use the opening from Through the Looking Glass. She goes through the mirror, meets the chess pieces of the White King and Queen, and before she goes off and meets the White Rabbit and goes into the Alice in Wonderland segments. Overall, I really like this version, more for the cast than probably for how they did the film. I mean, it's not a magical film. I mean, it's not like later versions, but I thought, and it could be a little bit pedestrian because some actors I didn't think brought a lot to the role. They probably just stood in the costumes and recited the dialogue, while other scenes like the White Knight scene with Gary Cooper kind of felt like he was putting more of an effort into it. But overall, it's a very good film, and what's sad is that this film for a long time was not shown on TV, and it hasn't been legally released on video, and for a while you had to get a bootleg copy off the internet. But now, thankfully, Universal Pictures is finally releasing it on DVD. I'll put the link in the description box so you can see for yourself that it's finally coming out, and hopefully people will look into it. But overall, I really like this version. It's not a perfect version, but I liked it a lot.
One thing that really bugged me was that Miss Simpson, I mean, she wasn't in either of the books to begin with, especially not into the Looking Glass. And I guess they just threw her in just to kind of start it off.
Yeah.
Because she was like Alice's governess and everything, but she was like really like uppity and hoity-toity and just laying on Alice about being mature and everything.
Yeah, and I think that kind of leads into the film because, Alice, like you just mentioned, she's not mature. She has an active imagination. She just doesn't want to buy into the proper education, if you can think of it that way.
Like the scene where she's playing with her father's chess pieces and her governess is like telling her not to touch them, and then she's like talking to them like they're human and like telling the queen that she shouldn't knock over the king and all that.
Yeah.
And just being like real silly and everything.
Yeah, this Alice, now a lot of people that might see this film may have a problem with an American Alice. She's played by Charlotte Henry. She's from Brooklyn and not England, and she was 17 at the time and not younger. Yeah. And but I thought she made an excellent Alice. I thought she was imaginative, charming. She wasn't bratty, and I interestingly, Ida Lupino, when she was younger, she was considered for the role, but she wasn't given the part because they thought she was too mature. I think Charlotte Henry definitely brought a nice childlike quality to it. And one thing I noticed with this film almost right away was the film has a nice score underneath it, when at the time scoring almost an entire movie was rare because it was expensive. So I like that the music complemented the picture well, and you could hear it almost throughout the entire movie. And the special effects, like they use back projection and all this stuff. We don't use this technology today, and I didn't find it annoying or corny. And the film, like I said, I thought the film was fast-paced, and it wasn't as talky at times. But like, for example, when Alice is trying to get through the little door, it uses very little dialogue, while other versions use the dialogue almost to death.
They almost use the dialogue as a crutch, basically, to give it character and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they use it as a crutch, but I think they, like in later versions, they use a little bit too much. Here they use just a little. As a result, the film can be a little bit pedestrian. Like, I think a lot of the actors don't bring a lot into it. Some put an effort into it, like Cary Grant as the Mock Turtle, and Gary Cooper's the White Knight, and W.C. Fields is Humpty Dumpty. I think they put a little more into it than, let's say, March Hare and the Mad Hatter. I thought those two actors weren't mad enough. Those costumes, I gotta tell you, the look of the film was good, but the costumes I thought were a little bit bizarre, and those masks I think they could have done without.
Yeah. Now I liked the fish and the frog mask a lot, but as far as like the Duchess's mask and the Tweedledee and Tweedledum, they sort of look the same, and they really didn't need them. I mean, the Tweedledee and Tweedledum masks, I mean, those were good, but the Duchess's mask looked the same as those, and it looked like she could have almost like been their mom. And then the cook's mask was kind of, I mean, it was just really like a huge mustache and maybe some eyeliner and whatnot and some bulging. But
yeah, I mean, I think they were trying hard to make the drawing, recreate the drawings from the book by John Tenniel, I think the illustrator's name was, and I think they didn't need that. I think it would have been nice to see the actors' faces a little bit, and you do get to see it with some of them, like the Queen of Hearts and the White King and Queen, the chess pieces, the Red Queen.
and the White Knight.
Yeah, you get to see a little bit of that. And I thought it was nice to getting this cast together. Like we have, like I said, some of these names may not be as well known anymore. Like Ford Sterling is the White King. He was a very popular silent film comedian. He was the police chief in Keystone Cop comedies. And Luis Fazenda, the White Queen, was also a popular silent film comedian. So you get a little bit of everybody from different periods of time up to that point. I mean, did you like this version? Did you think it was okay, or what?
I didn't like it as much as like the Disney version, but I liked what they were like trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I really love this movie. I mean, it's definitely not for everybody. And interestingly, even though it flopped, it spawned a lot of merchandise. Like here, I'd like to show, like before Home Movie, they had they put a 9-minute abridgment of Alice in Wonderland on film for the home movie market, and of course, it inspired books. Like this book is like it's a storybook and it has actual pictures from it. So they definitely put a lot of merchandise for it. Then,
but I think nowadays, I mean, like you said, they're going to put it on DVD, but I don't know how many people will actually buy it because it's kind of like forgotten unless you lived in 33 or you basically you know a lot about old movies.
Well, not necessarily. I think some Alice purists that want to see it will probably look into it. I think it's probably going to hurt it is for a long time you could only buy it on bootleg DVDs like off eBay and stuff, and now that's legally coming to DVD. I don't know if a lot of people are going to rebuy it or not. All right. Well, that's it for the Many Faces of Alice, and hopefully we'll see you next week. And go ahead and leave any comments on your opinion on the film if you've seen it or on the video in general. Thank you for watching.